Hello and welcome to a Ukraine War Report. There is a lot of interesting footage to go over today, so stay tuned. If you find this video interesting, please show your support by liking and commenting. Thank you. Here you can see a Russian soldier coming out of a manhole and a Ukrainian drone is waiting for him. The drone detonates after the soldier's upper body is out of the manhole and the Ukrainian drone pilot celebrates. A Russian Tor anti-SAM system is spotted by a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone out in an open field. The Russian SAM system noticed the drone and fired a short-range surface-to-air missile, which failed to hit the small Ukrainian drone. The Ukrainians retaliate with 2 missiles of their own. You can see 2 HIMARS missiles hit the target. A Russian oil refinery was struck by a long-range Ukrainian attack drone. The oil refinery caught fire after the strike. The plant can produce up to 240,000 barrels of oil per day and has been a regular target of Ukraine air attacks during conflict. Russia made a statement claiming that it shot down all drones and that the oil refinery was never struck. Of course, you can see the truth in front of your eyes. A Ukrainian Manpats team from the 110th Mechanized Brigade successfully shot down a Russian Se-25 attack jet over Donetsk Oblast on July 23, 2024. A circling Ukrainian drone captured the stricken Russian aircraft slamming into the ground, resulting in a huge ball of fire. You can see the plane fly for a bit before finally going down. And 6 seconds before the jet slammed into the ground, the pilot ejects and deploys his parachute. The fate of the pilot is unknown. The General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces said earlier on July 23 that Russia has lost 362 airplanes since the beginning of the full-scale war. The US has provided 31 Abrams tanks and more than 300 Bradleys to Ukraine, according to Pentagon documents. The Bradley has earned the nickname Battle Taxi for its ability to ferry 6 soldiers as passengers across the battlefield under its heavy armor protection. US doctrine commonly calls for Bradleys to operate in groups and alongside other vehicles such as tanks, and to typically engage targets at long distances to avoid enemy fire. That strategy is complemented with the added protection of a strong air force. But Ukraine's limited supply of ground vehicles and combat aircraft, and the persistent threat of armed Russian drones, has forced its commanders to mobilize just 1 or 2 vehicles at a time to avoid detection. The Bradley infantry fighting vehicle is a nightmare for the Russians. Here you can see the Bradley operated by the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade driving through an open field being filmed by a Ukrainian drone. You can see it do a drive-by attack on a Russian held town. It shoots a few shots, hits some targets and then drives away while firing its 25mm autocannon to provide cover for itself. The Bradley is designed for reconnaissance and to transport a squad of infantry, providing them protection from small arms fire, while providing firepower to both suppress and eliminate most threats to friendly infantry. Ukraine first deployed MT Bradleys in combat during the 2023 Ukrainian counteroffensive beginning in early June 2023. On 8 June, Russian drone footage showed multiple Bradley fighting vehicles damaged and destroyed in Zaporizhia Oblast along with a Leopard 206. Several more were lost to mines and atoms while attempting to breach Russian defensive lines. Ukrainian soldiers lauded the survivability of the Bradley, saying it protected them from hits that would have been lethal if sustained by a Soviet APC, and that many of the vehicles that became disabled from combat damage could be recovered and repaired. As of July 2024, at least 93 Ukrainian Bradleys had been confirmed to have been lost by photos or videos, 44 destroyed, 24 damaged, 21 abandoned and 4 captured. The US-made Bradley fighting vehicle FE has been an important tool for Ukrainian forces in the war against Russia, and has been praised for its firepower and survivability. Recently there has been a lot of Russian UAV being rammed out of the sky by Ukrainian drones. Here you can see a Ukrainian drone with wooden stick neutralizing a modern Russian Zala-421 UAV in aerial combat. The Ukrainian drone repeatedly striking the Russian device, eventually damaging its engine and rendering it inoperative. This unconventional technique highlights Ukrainian ingenuity in response to Russian use of drones for locating Ukrainian vehicles and coordinating loitering munitions like the Lancet. The Zala drone is a tactical unmanned aerial vehicle UAV specialized in surveillance and reconnaissance. Capable of carrying out intelligence, surveillance, communications, relay, and monitoring missions, this UAV has a flight endurance of 6 to 7 hours. It is equipped with a nose-mounted, gyro-stabilized payload pod that includes a thermal imager and high-definition video camera. The Zala drone can be powered by either an electric propulsion system or an internal combustion engine, offering a flight speed range of 65 to 110 km/h or 40 to 68 mph. It is also possible to equip the UAV with a laser designator, enabling it to illuminate, range, and identify targets. Drones have become a key piece of new technology for both sides in the Russia-Ukraine war. At first, the Ukrainian Air Force used small commercial drones, like the DJI Mavic, for reconnaissance and dropping grenades. In the latest tactic for storming trenches, Russians used motorcycles and tuned buggers to speed across open space, often into a hail of gunfire. Russian soldiers riding motorcycles, dirt bikes, quadricycles and dune buggers now account for about half of all attacks in some areas of the front. Soldiers and commanders say, as Moscow's forces attempt to use speed to cross exposed open spaces where its lumbering armored vehicles are easy targets. These non-conventional vehicles have been turning up with such frequency that some Ukrainian trenches now overlook junkyards of abandoned, blown up off-road vehicles, videos from reconnaissance drone share. The new tactic is the latest Russian adaptation for a heavily mined, continually surveilled battlefield as Moscow's forces work to achieve small tactical gains, often of just a few hundred yards. With reconnaissance drones ubiquitous in the skies, the armoured vehicles of both armies are easy targets. The faster-moving motorcycles and buggies are harder to hit with artillery. The drawback is that they provide no protection for Russian soldiers, who are exposed to a hail of machine gun fire as they approach the trenches. Sometimes the bikers get through if Russian artillery bombardments succeed in preventing Ukrainian soldiers from poking their heads above the trench. The tactic solves, though at great risk, a key tactical challenge of the war in Ukraine for both sides: how to cross a mined, open field while observed by drones and under artillery fire. If they make it across a field, the riders cast aside their bikes, enter the Ukrainian trench and engage in close combat on foot. They jump off and start shooting, said a Ukrainian sergeant, Sapsin, serving with the 47th Mechanized Brigade, who asked to be identified only by nickname, in keeping with his unit's security protocols. These buggies and motorcycles are fast and fly right into our tree lines. War update: a week of intense battles and strategic strikes. Eastern Ukraine. In the last week of July, Russia launched its most significant assaults in 8 months in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. These aggressive moves aim to cut off vital supply routes and force a major Ukrainian retreat. Despite these efforts, Ukrainian forces have managed to hold their ground. The Russian assaults focused on central and southern Donetsk, from areas west of Bakhmut to west of Avdiivka and down to west of Donetsk city, a 130-kilometer front. Russian forces have been inching forward for months, capturing settlements at a staggering cost to their own troops. On July 24, Russia mounted a battalion-sized assault involving 200 soldiers southwest of Donetsk city. Supported by 11 tanks, 45 armoured fighting vehicles, and 12 motorcycles, the attack aimed to seize the T-524 highway supplying Volodar. Ukrainian forces successfully repelled the assault, destroying 6 tanks, 7 armoured vehicles, and all 12 motorcycles. Ukrainian counterattacks. Meanwhile, Ukraine has scored significant hits on Russian energy infrastructure in occupied Crimea, suggesting its strategy to degrade Russian air defences is paying off. Ukrainian army tactical missiles attack and struck the Russian airfield of Saki in Crimea, destroying an ammunition depot and a radar station. On Monday, Ukraine struck Saki again, assessing the damage. This isn't the first time Saki has been targeted. Ukraine first struck the airfield in September 2022, forcing Russia to relocate Sukhoi fighter plane stationed there inside Russia. Since then, Saki has been used to launch missile and drone strikes against Ukraine, but Ukraine's repeated attacks have significantly degraded its capabilities. In addition to these strikes, the Ukrainian General Staff reported hitting 4 traction power stations in the Kursk, Ponerovsky and Solntsevsky districts, disrupting railway lines used to ferry war materials. Drones also damaged power plants in the Oryol and Belgorod regions. Ukraine has successfully targeted Russian energy and military infrastructure throughout the war, with notable success on the Black Sea. Naval front. Ukraine's naval and aerial drones have contained the Russian Navy, forcing the withdrawal of the Black Sea Fleet to Novorossiysk. The Ukrainian Navy spokesman Dmytro Pletenchuk announced on Sunday that aircraft had been completely withdrawn from 2 of the 5 airfields used by Russian naval aviation. Conclusion. The last week of July has been marked by intense battles and strategic strikes, showcasing both the resilience of Ukrainian forces and the ongoing challenges faced by Russian troops. As the conflict continues, the situation remains fluid, with both sides adapting their strategies in response to each other's moves. In a significant boost to its military capabilities, Ukraine announced on Sunday that it has received its first batch of F-16 fighter jets. The arrival of these Western-supplied aircraft marks a pivotal moment in Ukraine's defense strategy, even though the initial number might not be sufficient for an immediate transformation on the battlefield. These highly versatile F-16s come equipped with advanced radar systems and an array of powerful weapons. Ukraine is optimistic that these state-of-the-art jets will shift the dynamics on the battlefield, where Russia has maintained a dominant position for much of the past year. The introduction of F-16s is expected to enhance Ukraine's air defense, deterring Russian pilots from venturing into Ukrainian airspace to attack frontline troops in cities. Additionally, these jets could significantly improve Ukraine's ability to intercept and shoot down Russian missiles, thereby alleviating the strain on its currently stretched air defense systems. The United States has committed to equipping the F-16s with cutting-edge missiles and advanced weaponry, enabling Ukraine to conduct more effective long-range strikes behind enemy lines. This development comes as a much-needed upgrade, given Ukraine's previous reliance on an aging fleet of Soviet-era warplanes, which were outmatched by Russia's more advanced and extensive fleet. Russia has exploited this advantage to carry out regular long-range missile attacks on Ukrainian targets and to support its frontline forces with thousands of guided bombs. These attacks have facilitated Russia's gradual advances in the east. However, both Ukrainian and Western officials caution that the new fighter jets are unlikely to be deployed too close to the front lines just yet. The limited number of F-16s and the presence of numerous Russian air defense systems pose significant risks. Despite these challenges, the arrival of the F-16 symbolizes a crucial step forward for Ukraine, bringing hope and a renewed sense of resilience in the face of ongoing conflict.
Cu Swift to Go iei mașina pe loc direct din stoc. Ai Suzuki Swift în ofertă limitată de la 14.000